My name's John Gallagher. I'm a licensed acupuncturist and community-centered herbalist, and from Carnation, Washington. I started working with Wilderness Awareness School in 1991, so I've been involved for about 17 years. And with them, I was a design editor and helped create the Kamana Naturalist Training Program. And I worked a lot of other positions, from teaching to doing marketing materials and just about everything else you can do and run in the school. And I got involved initially, though John Young, the founder, was a teacher at my high school, I got involved more like when I was in college, because in college I got involved in environmental activism and all, and then I really saw how nature education and connecting people to nature, and where people had a real passion themselves with nature, they would then be better stewards of the earth. So it was less of a fad like in the early 90s when the Earth Day thing came up and all and whatnot, where everybody thought it was cool to do or whatever. But I saw that people would do this for the long haul, that they would really be involved in their lives and put all their heart into it and really make a difference if they had a connection with nature and they knew the plants and trees and animals and birds and in their area, and they knew how their ecosystems worked. Some people might think this is a leaf. This right here is a leaf. That's not a leaf. It's a leaflet. Because this whole thing here is a leaf. Because another thing I look at when I'm looking at plants is the shape of the leaf. Is the leaf whole? Like, I'm going to take a look at this Avens, right? Well, let's look. Some examples. This leaf right here, okay, you would look at that and go, okay, that's the leaf. That is the leaf. And like a maple leaf or something, it is like lobed, okay? The edge of the leaf is toothed, okay?
Toothed?
Toothed, like teeth.
Oh, toothed.
Yeah, because it looks like little teeth, So toothed, lobed, okay? If I'm looking at, well, the blackberry is not a good example, because this blackberry, once again, you might think that this each a leaf, but that the whole thing's a leaf. And we've got 3 leaflets.
Look at how it just gets shorter and shorter.
Some people call it elderberry or elderflower. Well, that's just describing what it is. There's a flowering or is it berrying, but elder is the plant. Different kinds of elder. This is a local, our local one is red berries and a raceme. It's Sambucus racemosa versus other Sambucus varieties which grow in other places. Like on the east, I gather elderberries, these blue umbels, berried umbels on the other side of the mountains, because that's where they're native. And that's what I use for remedies and wines and stuff. And why? Is because, well, I can get more berries, first of all, and second, those seeds are toxic. So we don't want to, I just don't like to mess with it. Okay, but you can make jellies and wines and stuff with it. It's just that you got to cook it and strain the seeds. Okay, just to make sure that you know. But the foliage part of it looks just the same. Colds, remedies, flu remedies of flowers for fevers. We use the dried flowers for fever remedy when my kids get fevers, and a tea. Okay, elder flowers. You can use the flowers from this one, because I don't need a lot of elderflowers, so I can pick these when it's flowering. And the berries, I might have mentioned, I use jelly, syrups, wine. Okay, so there's all kinds of things that you could do with elderberries. Elder is one of those plants that you're going to get to know well over the years. You can work with it slow. It's like an elder. It doesn't want to be. There's so much you can do with it. It has such a depth. And I know maybe you probably already know about huckleberry, and there are different, you maybe seen a blue huckleberry, there's a red huckleberry, but they're related to blueberries, what we're going to pick later. Here's an example of a whole leaf, smooth around the edges, so that's one leaf, and I just call it whole leaf, or just think you can look at it as being smooth around the edges. And it's because you want to try to get a mental snapshot of the plant in your mind. When say you're hiking or you want to know what a plant is, and you don't always have to rip them out of the ground and take them with you and identify them later. You could just look at it and go, okay, opposite branching, divided, or in this case, alternate branching, whole leaves, Okay, round red berry, and if you looked at the flower, it would be, there's none flowering now, but it was like a little bell, just like those blueberry flowers, you know, just like this bell, you know. So when you hear something, oh, it's in the same family as this, you could usually expect to see a similarity in the flower structure. So Ericaceae, which is the blueberry family, huckleberry, salal, all related, and they look so much like each other if I held them next to each other. And here I can see a little salal flower in that bell shape I was talking about that huckleberry has. It's nice because the salals are bigger, but if you go to a blueberry farm like we will later, you'll see similar flowers. You'll see that it has alternate branching and that it has whole entire leaves like this one. But then when you get past that opposite alternate flower type, and then you can begin to use your senses and say, look at that leaf, and it's leathery, it feels leathery, it's pale underneath. These are things that when you're using your senses and learning about plants, that eventually they really stick, especially when you're picking them for things or making remedies. You even get to notice these things more. Now, this is one in the blueberry family that I know that, you know, this is safe to put in my mouth. Now here's a little side thing. Now Ingwe taught me this. Ingwe is, if you've heard of Ingwe, William Ingwe librarian there. He's co-founder of our school, and he told me that well, he would do, because he was a Boy Scout leader for decades, since like the 30s, as they would take a little bit of the leaf and they crush it, smell it, and wait a little bit. If they didn't get any strong sensation, they take a little tiny piece, touch it to the tip of the tongue. Now he's from Africa. Okay, where there's a lot more poisonous, dangerous types of things lurking, plants lurking about than here. So, you know, and you do it, and wait. It was okay after that. Chew a little. Wait about 10 minutes. You know, and that's, if he wasn't sure, that's the method that he would use. This is kind of a common thing that people would use. I don't know any deadly poisonous plants that won't tell you that they're deadly poisonous very soon. You know, what I mean, there may be some that might, if you ate it, be a little nauseous, but I mean, chances are you won't really run into that, especially in this area. So this is a cedar tree, and I'm pointing that out, but I know a lot of you all live around here and know that, because cedar's, you know, it's kind of like salmon in this area. If you live in this area, you know what cedar trees are, just like you know what salmon. You know, but maybe if you're from the East Coast, you haven't seen a Pacific red cedar before. And this was the tree of life for the people that lived around here. Like in different parts of the world, different native people have these different trees of life that they're, so you know that gave them so much of what they used and what they needed. And for the natives around here, everything from well, food sometimes, but there's certainly medicine. Utilitarian mostly, houses, canoes, even diapers, pounding the inner barks, are all survival things, and tools and art, you name it. You don't want to step off the trail. Whenever you see Devil's Club right here, there will be roots, stems growing right around it, and then you could step near it and it'll just thwack you. And if you get thwacked by Devil's Club and that thorn gets in your finger, it will get infected. It will get infected, okay?
Is that where the name comes from then?
Yeah, the whiteys coming across, they said, oh, they'll thwack, and they went, whoa, devil, that's Devil's Club, you know? Whereas the native people around here had such a spiritual connection to this amazing plant. Like when this is in an old-growth forest, this like everyone's seen a huge Devil's Club stand, but it's like majestic. It's just breathtaking. The Snoqualmie people, which were the natives closest to where we are right here, their translation for this plant was the most sacred power. So you have the native people saying the most sacred power, and the pioneers going Devil's Club. So it tells you something culturally here. So this was serious medicine and deserves a lot of respect. Now, unfortunately, it's catching on because you know what? It's a relative, a ginseng. It's a Panax. Apula Panax horridum. Horridum. They have it's horrible. Damn Devil's Club. to the untrained eye, oh, it must be holly. Because it's got these leathery, prickly leaves. It must be holly. It looks nothing like holly. But maybe it's some kind of holly. But we don't really identify plants just by the leaf structure and what they feel like. This is actually alternate branching, though when people look at this they think it's opposite. But that's a whole leaf. That's one big leaf right there, that Oregon grape. Oregon grape is like my favorite native plant. And grows in the forests. And what I use is, let's see. Well, I call Oregon grape because when it's growing in the sunny area, it gets little berries on it, and they look like little grapes. The yellow flowers that are really sweet to eat. Just pop those in your mouth. They're really yummy.
The flowers?
Yeah, really yummy. And the berries are a bit tart, but you can use them in things like wines and jams and stuff, where jellies rather, where you're adding like sugar and all. It's more palatable. It makes a nice wine. But not this one so much. See, this is a Mahonia nervosa. This is a forest native one. The one that has the bigger berries, if you get a chance to get them because they're easier to pick, is the aquifolium, which is what you often see growing outside, like what people call native landscaping around here, and they put Oregon grape and they always put the big one in.
They're tall.
But that's not native here, really. Now is not the time where I'd be gathering it for food or medicine, because it's flowered and it's seeding. I want to do that before it flowers, and when that is the shoot starts coming up in late February. Between late February and like late May, when it's probably about yay big, it's cool to harvest. Now prime time, like late March, April. Find a nice patch of nettles. Okay, get your gloves on if you want. Now you can see here how this is opposite leaves and square stems. Every member of the mint family has opposite leaves and square stems, but this isn't a mint. Once again, don't get, there's always an exception. When you're gathering it, when it's like this tall, all right, or this tall, you always count down like maybe 1, 2, 3 of these leaf sections, 2 or 3 of them. And when I put my hand up on this, like underneath there, before these flowers are dangling there, you just take it by the stem and snap it like that. It snaps right off, because if you pull it all, you'll rip the plant right out of the ground. It's so shallow rooted, okay? And you can find a patch and keep doing that and keep doing that, and you can get a lot of harvests out of that, okay? What I do is when I'm out there and I gather, a couple of big garbage bags full, sometimes like a big bag of them. It may take me an hour or two to get a big, huge bag. I'll dry a whole bunch of them to use, but then what I'll do with a whole nother bunch of them every time is I make food with it. This is, if I could get one thing out of y'all today that you could get and understand out of what I'm getting with all this, is when people talk about medicinal plants and you always think like you got to have some kind of disease or condition to use them, and herb. I mean, come on, if you waited for that, or if you just made tinctures, herbalism wouldn't be very exciting. Really high in calcium, magnesium, iron, highest source of plant iron, vitamin A, vitamin D, tons of trace, you name it, it's high in it. This is super, it's free, right? And and making an infusion of this every day. And you're all going to drink nettle infusion later, okay? You're going to see what it tastes like. You're going to try that, and you drinking that every day. It's cheap and healthier. You're actually assimilating all the vitamins and minerals because it's food, right? These little pills they give you, I think it goes in one end and goes out the other. You're not even really, digesting the gel cap by the time it gets to the point. I mean, by the time it gets in the small intestines, it has to be down to the molecular level. If the gel cap's not dissolving, it gets to your small intestine. It's at the food level. You're not getting anything from it.
Do you not want to eat it raw, or should it be cooked every time? Or?
You're cooking it when you're using it. Either you're making a tea, which is a fusion, which is a stronger tea. Okay, or you can make steam, when it's like, you can just make steamed greens, you can just steam them and put them on your plate and eat them like that. Put a little Parmesan cheese, that can be that simple. Any soup recipe, put it instead of greens. You can make nettle soup, always cooking it. Yeah. You can't eat these raw, yeah, But I mean, it's not that pleasurable, and it kind of tingles your throat after about one or two of them. She took it and grabbed it from the top.
I didn't grab it very well.
She grabbed it from the top, and then she's folding it in because the stinging hairs are on the bottom. And she's folding it in on itself. And she's going to crush it a little bit. And for her next trick, she's going to eat it. I've had somebody tell me it's like the most healing herb. Okay, and one of those herbs where it would definitely be on my top 5 list if I only could be somewhere with 5 herbs. What would they be? So when I think of comfrey, I think of broken bones, fractures, sprains. It's an incredible cell for cell proliferation. It has something in it called allantoin, and which is very good at skin regeneration. Now, if you use a comfrey salve or you're using comfrey on wounds, always make sure that it's cleaned out and disinfect everything you can do before you use that salve, because you don't want to trap in any of the infectious materials, because it will work that quickly. If I also make infusions of comfrey leaf, not root, comfrey leaf, and I drink those if I have some kind of if I'm using an external, because it's great to nourish internal and external when you got something, especially because obviously a broken bone or sprain or bruise or whatever is really going on internally, so you're really helping it from both ends. Also, because of the mucilage, like very good for digestive tract disorders, soothing, ulcers, things like that. When I have some chronic cough stuff, which comes up in in the winter when things are really damp around here, I drink comfrey infusions. Helps my lungs. This is St. John's wort, which I know a lot of you already identified. And see, in western Washington, in eastern Washington, it grows like all over. It's like a weed, big weed, Oregon, everything. In western Washington, you just don't see it in every field that you go. You usually see it on roadsides. You see it trail sides. I usually go find a place where I know they're not spraying. Usually I have a couple spots that are off a road or whatever that I know that's safe to it's another wildcrafting tip. Don't gather near the roads, right? Okay? For obvious reasons. So I have a good spot where I gather this. Now, how I tell it's St. John's wort, now it's, this is just picked right from the ground like that, or it might get maybe that high or something around here, is that it's called Hypericum perforatum. And if I pick the leaves, hold it up to the light, I see little perforations, little holes. But the telltale sign for sure is if I take the flowers, crush them in my yellow flowers and crush them in my fingers, my finger turned purple. Caught red-handed. Okay. So, actually I was caught red-handed the other day because I was picking St. John's wort flowers, and some lady pulled up and said, I had a bag and I'm collecting these flowers, and she pulled up next to me and said, what are you doing there? Are you spreading dog poop or something like that? And I'm just like, no, I'm picking St. John's wort. Have you heard of St. John's wort? And blah, blah, blah. She says, well, she just wasn't interested, and she drove off. It's kind of funny. So it was a teaching opportunity. And I use that for muscle aches and rubs, very good in nerve kind of situations that are going on, and you sunburn, minor burns. We even use the oil as like a sun protector. We put it on before we go out in the sun. It kind of works with your skin. I put this out on the internet the other day. It's a little video. Did you see it? Not yet. It was in the last newsletter, and I put a little interview of me talking about it. Put it on YouTube. And we're talking about it. I got so many emails back saying you can't use it for that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do all the time. It works great. It's like chamomile without the little white disc gray flower things on it. It's also in the aster family, which is a dandelion and all. If anybody's never done it, I mean, you just do like this, you smell like apples or pineapple. Just crush some of that. We're going to pick some of this to take back for some tea tonight, so you can have wild chamomile or pineapple weed. And the thing about pineapple weed is you usually only see it grown in your driveway forever. You never pick it. But you come here, and even right in this area, this is good. It's a good place to pick it, so you can actually use it. It's usually like, it's like in the cracks of the driveway, and like my driveway, that's what's in the cracks. So I have this wonderful wild chamomile here. So this is great, and I believe it to be stronger than chamomile as well in action.
Another name for it is
Pineapple weed, people call it. Yeah. It has these parallel veins. It can rip up into sections like that. It's plantain. Plantain just grows in the cracks of the sidewalk everywhere, all across. People used to call it white man's foot because wherever white man went, it would be behind him. This is a native. It kind of trailed behind him wherever he went. And when I think about this plant, I think like it grows in disturbed soil. You're always going to see it. Where metals touch the soil, you're going to see it grow. You're going to see it, inevitably come up right past it. Now, what it's really doing here is it's really healing the skin of the earth. It's bringing nutrients up, and it's making the soil kind of regenerate. So, in the same sense, this is a great example. And this is like herbs, they're not just here for us to help with a certain condition. They're helping, the planet is putting it here for a reason, and a lot of the times it helps us in the same way. So for us, it's very good for skin scrapes, cuts, wounds. It's very drawing because it draws nutrient up. If you have a bee sting and you chew a bunch of this up and put it right on the bee sting, the stinger will pop out, and the swelling will go away and the pain will go away. I've seen it happen with my kids, several kids before. And any kind of bites that require drawing action, splinters, whatnot, you can use plantain. The little V on the leaf. See the little V, the little chevron character symbol right there? They call it like the geese in that formation, like think of it in the show. And that's how you know it's red clover. But you're not really using the leaves. What you're going to do when you have that field full of those nice pink flowers, pink to red flowers, is you're going to go and you can just two hands, you can have a little basket here, and you can go and grab them and grab them and grab them and grab them like this and keep harvesting. You can fill up nice so they dry really nice on the screen. And it's high in a lot of vitamins and minerals, as well as very nourishing for the blood. It's one of those nourishing herbs you would use in an herbal infusion. Should have a daily standard brew of some nourishing herb every day, and it's one that you can use for that. Nettles is, of course, number one, but there's a lot of other ones. Burdock root, dandelion root. So when you're picking them, I'll be in a field and I'll kind of both hands like that and just kind of keep snapping them off, and I'll take them like this, and before you know it, you have a nice. And they dry. They're so beautiful, and they dry, and you put them in a jar. You can also take these and get a deep fried batter mix, and you can make fritters just like you can with dandelion flowers. You can take dandelion flowers too, or these. Have a nice batter, put them in there, just fry them in some oil, and then they're really tasty. You use a little syrup or whatever, butter. Some plants it's like, all right, that's nice, and learn something about it or whatever. And some you can just every year be doing new things with. And these are one of those ones. And this grows, and all these ones I'm showing you right here grow all over North America. Yeah, little you can put some in the salad. Oh. Now, wow, now is yet another plant in this small radius. See how this place is great? You don't have to move. This is a little bigger than the ones we're going to harvest because this is going to go in your meal tonight. But when we're harvesting, we're going to go for the little ones that are like this or smaller, because they're kind of like they're flamed. There we can chop those right up. So we'll probably want Angie or you can work with Angie. I think it's a little tougher like this to just actually strip the leaves. And perhaps this has like twice as much calcium. If you make an infusion, twice as much calcium what you find in the same volume of milk. Okay. And it's high in calcium, and if you look at the nutritional charts, it's literally skyrocket off the chart with what's at the supermarkets. With the herbs and plants and vegetables. That's like nettles, lamb's quarter, dandelion. I mean, the stuff at the supermarket, any vegetable or anything that they're growing here for people to take home, pale in comparison to nutrients when it comes to lamb's quarter, nettle, dandelion root, dandelion leaves. It's amazing. Chickweed right down here. This is, we're gonna find some more lush, we're gonna pick some, we're not gonna pick our lamb's quarter chickweed right here. I'm gonna give you some bags, and there's lots of little lush chickweed patches and lamb's quarter growing in these, in amongst these peas. It has an affinity for the lungs. Okay, you know, so right when you need it the most, that time of year, you know, like late winter and all, it's when it flourishes the most around here anyway. Even in the East Coast, I would see it growing in little pockets and places. It's most vibrant. In the summer, it can get really dried out. But here, you know, we get enough moisture, and it's in the farm. It's protected amongst these peas. You get, so you still have some nice little lush patches, and there's like they picked this here and actually added to the salad mixes and the thing. And in the supermarket, I've gotten bags of salad in like the mainstream QFC supermarket chain around here. We have, you know, like Safeway or whatever. And I've gone in there and got salad mix, and there's chickweed in it. So I've seen it in there. Dandelion is probably my favorite herb because I've got the most stories in my life that have to do with dandelion. It's kind of my entry into doing all this. And it's another one of those superfood plants. And just really what it symbolizes, it's amazing that you have this herb that does so much for your liver, so much for your kidneys, two organs that get stressed the most in our culture. And what do people do? They're poisoning them right in their own yard. They're taking some kind of anger out. And that's what it's really a remedy for, anger and liver and all that. Chinese medicine, liver associated with anger. And it's really, so that's, you know, so for me, like in our logo, learningherbs.com, our logo is a dandelion. That's why, you know. And so for me, it's a transformational herb, and it's really something that people can, like a doorway that people could connect. So most people buy one of these because they want to get rid of their dandelions, and I have one of these so I can dig them up and eat them. Let's see if I can get. Yeah, it's tighter soil here. If it was in there, that's why I always like gathering roots and things in farms and gardens, because you can just pop them right up. The roots, we wash them off, you know, chop and wash them up. We eat them. We just pick them out of our garden all year. So as we're weeding our garden, we take a few roots up at a time, chop it up and put it in whatever, stir fries, dry roasted, wonderful flavor.
The roots.
The roots. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great any time of year. The leaves, you know, you just eat anytime. But you know, you don't want to eat something that's all like divided and all gross looking like that. You try to find younger, tender leaves. Highest source of plant vitamin A. That's good to know. And so the flower you can eat. You can take the flower, eat it, or we break the petals out, put them on a salad. Kimberly makes these great dandelion flower cookies. We have a lot of good dandelion recipes on the website and in back issues of the newsletter. Of any herb that's been used, studied, and used more than anything in so many creative different ways. I mean, there are festivals, and you know, in parts of the country where people have a dandelion festival. People come from all over and share all their dandelion recipes.
Tell us your website again.
learningherbs.com. So I'd like, let's see, 1, 2, how about 2 people on pineapple leaf? 4 people for chickweed?
I want to do chickweed, but I gotta
do those
have to figure out.
Chickweed, let's look closer again. The chickweed people. Everyone else, lamb's quarter. You can kind of where it looks nice, like there up, and like that. Lots of that. Chickweed. It's going to be in your salad for dinner. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
4. You want to help? Yeah, help us. You want to get a bag?
Yeah. So lamb's quarter, young ones at orange flowers.
The wild chamomile.
Orange flowers. So not like this. Not like what
They're
I was
hard to
thinking.
find now because it's at the end of the season. It's really good.
Which is a wild chamomile. And when you're picking it, you want to pick it in a place that you know there's not going to be, you know, that's cleaner, because we're on a good organic farm here. And usually it's, you don't know if they're spraying or if there's cars going by it, but we know there's, just a few tractors a day, no exhaust, and the tractor tires aren't going over it, so I feel confident about it. It's the only place I ever said.
What are those ones that are kind of, where you can kind of...
plants you went over?
Well, I mean,
Plants, yeah, in here.
gardening,
In here.
you're intentional.
Oh, we had
Cat,
You're doing when I was little
chickweed.
honeysuckle, and they were really sweet. Honeysuckles, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Is that what it was?
From the east? Are you from the
Yeah,
east?
yeah.
Yep.
Really sweet. Yeah.
Totally.
I was expecting these to be sweet. Not good.
Let's use.
Oh my God, that is so good.
Oh
my goodness.
We're going to demonstrate here various home herbal remedies, and the reason why I'm doing it this way, showing you like this all at once, is because you're going to see the similarities between the methods that we use for these and how really easy it is. Okay, so I talked about St. John's wort oil today. St. John's wort, right? We met St. John's wort, and we talked about how we make an oil, how we can use that on aching muscles, how we can actually rub that down before you go on a long hike, and then you won't get that muscle ache, sunburn, we use it as a sun protector. There's a lot of things you can use St. John's wort oil for. So this is how easy it is. So you take a jar, you fill it with the flowers, right? I showed you how we strip that, like that. We strip those, got those flowers in our hand, and I stuffed this jar. Now, it stuffed it in not a heavy pack, but a nice light pack, fluffy up to the top, but not like jammed in there, but a nice, nice pack. We're going to use olive oil, and olive oil is most commonly used. Like, what did natives use when they were making salves? They used like fat, like bear fat or different kinds of fats. Olive oil also because it's a monounsaturated fat versus a polyunsaturated fat, and which means that it's a little more stable and oxidizes less, right? The polyunsaturated fats like canola oil, corn oil, they go rancid faster. So the monounsaturated fat, like an olive oil or coconut oil, or just that olive oil is so common, easy to get, and a bit cheaper than the others, and most commonly used in the remedies that you see. And I'm just gonna pour it in there. Some of my kitchen here has some bubbling in there. I can go in here and say, I need something to push that down. I'm gonna push this down, make sure that it gets in there. Now I didn't chop, notice a lot of herbs, if you're making an oil, you want to chop them up before using them. If I'm making a comfrey oil, for example, I'm going to let it sit overnight, let it evaporate a little, right, get some of the water weight out, and I'm going to chop that up real fine and put that in here. But the flowers I won't need to chop up.
Does it need to be dry? Or can it
No, I can just use this just like this. Actually, okay, if I went out today and gathered because of the rain, I would let it dry, but I gathered this yesterday and dry, and it's been out since yesterday. So yes, it did have a day of kind of drying out a little bit. And why is because, we all know about oil and water mixing. And when you make your oil, there's a little more water in there. When it's done, it can have a kind of salami-like odor. I don't find that with St. John's wort, but something like plantain or comfrey or other green plant oils get that. If there is any water in there, take a paper towel. It's a little trick I came up with, or maybe someone else told me, I don't know. And then I just screw band that on there. And then you see the water is going to be able to evaporate out. Now, usually I could just leave it like this a few days in the sun, and the sun brew it. And I don't do that with all the herbs. I pretty much do that with St. John's wort because of its relationship with the sun. But every day I will go out and open it and make sure that all the plant material is underneath. Keep it underneath. And make sure the oil is up on top of it, because otherwise you want to move it around. You don't want something to be sitting above the oil, or that can mold, go bad on you. Okay, so
You leave it out all night?
I used to take it in at night, because of the dew.
Just put it out when it
just
gets
put it out
sunny.
when it gets sunny. But Another way to do this is I can just let this sit out of direct, I don't know, sunlight thing, this doesn't matter in this case, but oils in general, I'll just, not have it in direct, day after day in sunlight, but because, and have this sit for 6 weeks, okay? And then maybe for the first couple of weeks until it really settles down, I'll open it every day and stir it around and make sure, until it's going to get to a point where the oil is just going to stay on top and you're not going to need to stir it anymore. And then you just, and there you go, that oil's going in. I'll take a label, I'll put on there St. John's wort, today's date, and olive oil, so you know when 6 weeks is. So this is finished oil. And this oil we actually keep in little bottle back in the bathroom, and it smells really good. Just pass that around and smell that if you'd like.
No, if you write it down.
It has nothing to do with the actual thing.
We've made it to the berry patch. It's been a long journey. In 91, 92, when I was in college at Indiana University, there was like the 20th year anniversary of Earth Day. And what was happening was you had a lot of people selling T-shirts at fairs and talking about this and that, and people were talking about stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of meaning and heart into it. So someone would get into it and they would do it because maybe they thought it was a cool thing or to do or whatever at the time, but they wouldn't stick with it. So they might talk about all this earth stuff and then the next day, be into something else, or not even changing their behavior, or not really, connected to the place where they were living. So that's why I saw people get into it and quickly get out of it. So when I saw the people when I met with Wilderness Awareness School, it was like there was a real connection. Like the people knew their land and knew their local parks. So if somebody was going to say, hey, we're going to develop this area, those people would really work or fight or research to work with people to see what they could do to save a particular patch of woods from development, which is a huge, obviously here too in Washington, but in New Jersey, definitely a huge thing in New Jersey. So when the Kamana Naturalist Training Program idea came about, it was like, here was an opportunity for people to learn on their own about their local ecosystems, so they felt empowered to go into the Corps and put together reports and with scientific evidence where they could go and say, hey, there's endangered species over here, this is wetlands or whatnot, and actually say that with conviction and with knowledge, so then that land would then stay preserved and not become another development. Where I grew up in New Jersey, there's so many places, wetlands and sensitive areas, that were just filled in with dirt and built with houses upon because nobody really, they didn't do it. They were able to get away with it because there weren't people that knew what to do. So that's what I noticed, is that people actually had, it's very deep and very empowering, this work. Cattail supermarket of the swamp. Why I say that is there's a lot of ways, parts of it you can use. In the springtime, you'll see when it's coming up, you'll see the shoots will be about yay big. Even when they get to about yay big, you can cut them up and you can peel them back and you'll get down to a really tender inner part, like a heart. Like it's meaty and white, and you peel that back and you can chop that up and put that in a stir fry. You want to cook it first because it might have giardia if you're in a swamp, right? You don't want to risk that. So especially with the shoot. Now with the root, you dig that root up, and if I had a big shovel with me, I could do that, but it's very starchy. Yeah, it's very starchy. So you can slit the root open, and you can scrape out all that white starch, dry it out, add it to some flour, you can bake things. So you got the root and you got the shoot. Now you got the flowers, the female part and the male part. So the top part, the female part, the male part has the pollen. It's already done, but when it has this pollen, you can bend over the cattail with a paper bag and you can shake that out. And it doesn't take long to get a nice amount of this cattail pollen that you can use and cut with flour and make stuff with, like muffins, whatever. Then what you could do now if you wanted, if you find someone could take this with them, you could take this off, strip this down like that. You can take maybe, oh, we can take it to like here. See some pollen, there's some pollen on there. Anyway, you can take this, you could steam that or barbecue it or whatever, pour some butter on it, and you can eat it like corn on the cob. So you've got the male part, the female part, the roots, and the shoots all edible. So high carbohydrates. So when you're on a survival situation and you need carbohydrates, cattail roots are always there all year round. You can dig them and have that for survival.
And while we're on cattail, not an edible use, but this stalk here, not the leaves that fan out, but this middle stalk in the fall, when it browns and dies, you can take it, and when it's dried out, and it's a great hand drill stalk to use. And you break that off, it's pithy in the middle. It's like big leaf maple or salmonberry or something like that.
And as well as the greens, when do you harvest it for baskets? Now?
Oh, when this stuff here, yeah, you like usually, September.
You can
October.
harvest that and dry it, and then you can use it to weave baskets
Weave
and
baskets or
mats.
yeah.
So it's it's great. I mean, it's great. You can spend a lot of time studying cattail.
Be very careful though, because it absorbs heavy metals
Yeah.
really easily, extremely easily. So make sure it's away from like roadways.
Yeah, here
far
I'd
away.
harvest it. No problem. It's organic farm. Nobody's spraying anything. It's far from a road that's not that busy. I definitely. So now that I know this, I'll be back. Now that I know this, I'll be back here.